Okay, so I want to make a review on the knife I made, and it's just gonna be a partial review, and it's gonna be biased, so because I made it, so I can't really get away from that. Um, so I'm just gonna go over basically why I made it the way I made it, and then some of the options I could have done, and then why I didn't decide to do it. So I'm filming in the garage, and just a heads up, my neighbor's doing some stuff with the tractor, so you'll hear that. And then it's about to rain probably in a few minutes. So, all right. So I'll start with the measurements. It's a 9-inch blade, and then it's a 4.5-inch handle. So 4.5 inches for me is about what I like in a knife, depending on the handle. But for this handle, it's perfect for me. Um, it's 5 millimeter stock, so it's 5 millimeters here, and then it's about 4 around here. It does taper, and it starts to taper more gradually, just about here. And so the tip, it's relatively thin. I got like dirt and stuff from just putting my hand on the table. It's relatively thin, but so the way I gave the tip strength is basically I made it wide. So I didn't have it go down to a point. I basically just made it wide. So there's a couple ways of making things strong when you're making a knife. So you can either make it thicker or you can make it wider. And then thicker is basically for I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it's stronger for like lever, any forces that come about from a lever sort of force. So if you pry on something, it's stronger in that sort of sense than if you just make the knife wider. But a wider knife gives it strength with proper edge alignment. When you hit something wider is stronger. It gives the knife strength. It isn't stronger than a thicker knife, but it gives the knife strength if you hit something with proper edge alignment. Just because there's a lot more metal behind it, helping it out so it doesn't warp or snap off. So gave it strength that way. So I decided to go with a thinner tip and just make it wider. Here's had to have this here for an example. Here's another knife I made. And this knife it's pointy, but it's a lot thicker. I'll show you this one, and then I'll show you this one. So okay. So that's the reason I went for that tip. The undulations here, I some of this stuff I went over in a video, but I'll just repeat it. The undulations, I decided to have this tip here because that's usually where I would hit something. Basically, if I'm trying to hit something, I put the tip back instead of having it centered. A lot of the times you see a knife that's a Kris knife, it'll have the tip right in the center. I put it back just so when you do hit something, in my mind, this will help catch it. I mean to do a little bit more cutting, because it's you're swinging in an arc. So this would hit first, and then this would basically catch it too, in my mind. Well, I'm gonna test this out too, so I'll talk about that in the end of the video. So also another reason is I wanted so that you can cut stuff too, have it a little bit more functional. You have this little belly here you can cut things with, and the tip isn't in the way also. I put quillions on this thing too, and there's a few reasons for that. It's not really for protection, like a handguard for against another knife, because it's too small. They're and this one plus the hump is like out more than the quillion itself. So the reason I have it here is basically um, so my hand doesn't go forward. It basically stops my hand there. And then the other reason is I'm gonna do a cutting test using this knife. So this is the reason it's a partial review. I'm just gonna cut random things with it. So I want to try a snap cut with this. So part of the reason I wanted this on here too is for snap cuts. So you have like a little karambit style thing. And when I do a snap cut, this to me is kind of like what works better for me, a saber grip, than just basically holding it like this and doing the snap cut. For whatever reason, we'll see how it works. So I did want to do a saber grip. My thumb just rests there. And then the last reason is I'm gonna try to make a kydex sheath for this knife. So anybody who's made kydex sheaths, I think you'll understand that it's gonna be a weird process to try to figure it out. I have an idea of what to do to make a kydex sheath for this, and we'll see if it works. But I'll make a video for that too. I'll talk about the idea I have, and then I'll try it, see if I actually am able to do it. So the quillions there, I mean these two quillions, I wanted them there also so I have somewhere for the kydex to grab onto. So when it does close, so when it snaps, I didn't want the quillions I didn't want the kydex to basically grab onto the wood itself, because it would just scratch it up like really bad after some amount of time. And it does that too, in my experience. So I have an Aurora too, and it does that to basically micarta also. So kydex will scratch up micarta also, and micarta is tougher than wood. So the quillions are there just for the kydex to grab onto. And then I went with larger pins because the pins are these are bronze. So bronze is a lot stronger than brass. And I found these, which are aluminum bronze. And if you look at them, let's see if I can get it. They look copperish, and it's a super nice look. So I went with 3/16 instead of 1/8, which is what I usually use. And the reason for that is because I wanted to kind of like have the pins show up a little bit better than what they usually do on the handles I make. So here's this one, and then this one has copper pins, and here's this one. So they do show up a lot more, and I wanted that on this one because just how nice the material looks to me. The handle's lignum vitae, and I was able to find this like super beautiful grain structure. So I don't know if you can tell that well, but the curvature does go with the belly of the handle. And I tried my best to get the perfect area where it did that the most. I mean, where it complemented the handle the most. So I did that okay, I think. So there's this side, and then this side. So these pieces were book matched, which means is they were cut. So two scales of lignum vitae, and they basically, sorry about that. Whoa. So they were book matched because what it means is that they were cut from the same piece. So they got a piece and cut it in half, and just opened it up, and I used one on each side. But the problem with that is sometimes, see how thick the grains are on this side. So you see the brown is like super thick on this side, and over here it's less thick. But then you have greener right here. So it's kind of hard. So I had a choice of either one side of the look ashy. So okay, all right. So I had a choice of either one side of the piece of wood I used, or the other. And I tried to choose this. I tried to choose the side that had the most the thicker lines in it. But this side just happened to have like the better area. Even though they're book matched, this other side you can tell that it was whoa, what am I talking about? This side had the thicker areas. Okay, and this side you could tell that they were just becoming thinner. So once again, I tried to choose the thicker lines for this side too, but they just weren't as thick as this other side here. I mean, it still looks nice, and it gives it a different look. But that's just some of the stuff that comes up when you're choosing wood for your handles. And as you can tell there, you can see the pins too. That's the nice thing about like thicker pins. So 1/8 wouldn't have done this. So you can see right there. And then even on this side too, you can tell a little bit right here on these sides. And then right here too. So 1/8 wouldn't have done that. And so now to the handle. Hope this video isn't too long. So the handle, I did taper the tang on the handle, and I did that for a couple reasons. And so you can see there 5 millimeters on top, and then it just tapers down to this. And first reason is I wanted to put as much with this type of grind. I wanted to put as much weight as I could towards the front, so I did taper it down. I didn't want to taper it too much. I could have done it a little bit more, but I just I like to have as much strength as I can just throughout the knife. So there's some people who even drill holes in their handles. And even though that might be okay, I guess, for strength wise for whatever people are going to use it, I just don't. I'd rather have things as strong as possible, regardless of anything else. Unless you're trying to save weight, like 100% trying to save weight, and that's your main goal. So I tapered it down, but also the reason I wanted to taper it also was because see this little area here, since I'm using wood, and wood is weaker than micarta, and it's weaker than G10. This little area here, it's super thin. I mean, not super thin. It's just it's not as wide as all this over here, and it's right at the end, so it's more prone to get hit, to get damage if it falls, stuff like that. So it's right where it's vulnerable, and it's also the thinner area. Plus, it has a pin in it, so I wanted to be able to have as much wood there as possible, as much material instead of making it like this thin. I wanted to have as much material there as possible, so that it helped to taper this down, so that I can still have more wood there, more material. And then just the general shape of it, it has a bit of a belly here. I mean, it's wider here than it is here. And then it looks kind of like a lobster tail. It tapers inward here. It's thinner here, but it tapers inward, and it's a little bit thicker on top. It is a little bit thinner, but it's almost in line with the back on this end. So part of that reason is when you grab it, there's a nice little space there for your pinky. There's a nice little space there for your index finger. And this basically just goes in your palm pretty good. You just the belly and everything of the handle itself. So I'm happy with how the handle came out. And then when you do get a saber grip, that little dip, that little crevice here, really works well when you have it in saber grip too. So that's the general thing. The general overview of it. But I will go over some of the stuff that, it didn't come out exactly how I wanted it. So, the balance, this is the main thing. The balance, I wanted the balance a little bit more forward. And here's the balance here. Whoa. So it's right where the quillion is, right here. And just right from when I started, I wanted the balance to be out here. And so in the beginning, in this knife build or whatever, the main thing I wanted was cutting capacity. So So that trumps everything else. So when you start making something, you have to have an idea of what you want. You know, like if it's, I want something that's super lightweight, or I want something that's crazy tough. I want something that you can pry with. I want, you know, a throwing knife. All these like options have restrictions, and necessities that you have to put in the knife. So I wanted something that could cut, and I could have put the weight forward more, and having the weight forward adds to cutting capacity, because you have something that's like sort of a chopper. So having the weight forward more would have been better for cutting capacity, but this is as far as I could have gotten it. I mean, that I was able to get it with the type of grind I have. So if you get it way back here, you can still chop pretty well, but that's still not where I wanted it. So when I was grinding, I could have stopped probably out to here, and then, you know, just had a like a much well, not much, but a shorter secondary bevel before I ended it to an edge. But I'd prefer, this is good enough for me. So I decided to basically just do a full grind, and in my mind, okay, we'll see, I thought that would add more to cutting capacity than basically stopping the grind about here. And I'm pretty sure, maybe, I don't know, I think if I stopped it around here, maybe I would have to stop it like way over here, who knows, or maybe less, I don't know, because I didn't try it in the end. But if I would have stopped probably here, this is my guess, I would have been able to get the weight a little bit more forward. So we'll see. I don't know if it would have benefited, you know, a lot more from having the weight here instead of here, but I don't know. We'll never know, I guess. But we'll see. We'll see if it does what I want it to do. If it does, then I don't really care. So that's why it's a partial review too. So all right. So I'm gonna put up another video, and I'm just gonna cut random stuff, like cardboard and water bottles and stuff like that. And so I do have a little problem though. The whole point of the cutting test for me is gonna be if this if this shape, the Kris shape, if it does, you know, if it even makes a difference in cutting. And that's the reason I want to just cut stuff, just random stuff. And the problem I have is that I don't really have a 9-inch blade to that compares well to this, other than, well, I'll show you the knife. So I can't compare it to this knife. This is a 9-inch blade knife, because it already has like an S shape, so it's kind of pointless. I can't really compare it to the chef knife, because the chef knife is this is a 9.5-inch blade, but the grind on it is different. So I wanted to make this like a super tough kind of knife, so the angle on it isn't exactly the same. The only one I do have is this one. This is the first knife I made, but this is a 1/8 stock. So it's a lot thinner than this one. But I mean, this would be my choice, and I can't compare it. I have the Armok, I have what's the other ones? I have daggers and stuff like that. So none of them really compare to this one in sort of where it would be a good example. But so my choices are, and I'm still in, like, not really sure, but I'll see, is either this knife. Oh, and that's the other thing. This has a convex edge, and this is a flat grind. So, but and I know you've seen this knife a lot, but I don't know. I mean, I can't think of another knife to use. I mean, other than this one. So this one, if I use this one, this is a 7.5-inch blade, but this is a 9-inch blade. But this is something that some people have, so they can have a. Everybody will have a better understanding of the difference in cutting capacity, or if there is a difference or there isn't. I don't know yet, but if I actually use this one. So if I use this one, like let's say you don't own one of these, but one day in the future, if you do, then you'll at least know how it compares to this knife, and if it does make a difference or not, to have all those wiggles instead of just like a saber type of a knife. So I'm leaning towards this one. I'm almost saying yes because I kind of convinced myself right now actually. But I don't know. But so I probably am. I'll see on the day of when I do just start doing some of the tests. I might use this a little bit and then decide then if it seems like, well, something. No, never mind. Because there's no point of, well, I don't know. All right. I'm gonna stop the video here. I don't know. I got some thinking to do on that part. So all right. So hopefully you like the video. I mean, it's kind of me rambling on for a little bit, but the next video I have will be basically me just testing the edge in comparison to one of these two blades, just to see if the wiggles make any difference. Okay, so all right, bye.